grab the link here. All right, let's see what we're doing here. We got one person watching. All right, what's going on, man? Yo, wealthy.
What's going on, boss?
Just chilling, dog. Just chilling, waiting for some people.
I'm trying to see these questions start coming in, man.
Yeah, I've been really thinking about doing like actually recording ones and uploading them. Then I don't necessarily have to play this waiting game.
Yeah.
I think that would work well, because then we can do like a nice introduction. But nonetheless, we got one person watching. All right, we got 3 people going, so might as well get this bad boy started. All right, hello everyone. Welcome to Rejects Recap Radio here, and I'm your host Fallen here, the commish, and I'm joined here by my public
I'm
relations guy.
public relations. What's going on, guys? It's Wealthy Muffins, public relations.
Yeah, Wealthy the Bucks owner here, and Fallen the Broncos over here. And we're gonna go through, break some things down that's going around in the league. Didn't quite get a nice setup here for this league, kind of rushed it a little bit, but we'll definitely get one going next time. I think we're gonna plan on doing a post-trade deadline video, get some things going on with there, and really try and break some of those moves down and see how they impact our league. So I wanted to start off here. We've had some pretty big games going on. Over the past couple weeks. One for sure I think I want to highlight was, how about New England beating the Giants just a couple hours ago. They beat him by 10 points now. I mean, Pats is going to end up getting a fine here because he was stat padding pretty hard, but
That's a big no-no in our league.
yeah, that's a pretty big game if you think about it. Like, that AFC East division, I don't think there's quite a clear, concise horse in that division. So I think
Yeah,
anytime those
well,
guys can steal a couple games out on opponents that are better and try and set themselves apart, I mean, that's got to all go for them. Like, if you think about it, like, I haven't. Can you think of anyone in that division that's kind of separated themselves from the rest?
Honestly, if you take a look at the Jets, they're 4-0, so
Yeah,
it looks like, I mean, if I had to pick one, it had to be them. But
yeah.
honestly, I think it's anyone's division because the Patriots, they're pretty good. Dolphins users surprising a lot of people, and then you always got the Bills. You always
The
got to
Bills
watch
has
out for
been
them.
competitive
But
in all his games, yeah, for sure, for sure. And I think the Jets, the thing with the Jets is they've got that. They're one of the only undefeated teams left, but they've changed ownership a couple times, but they just keep on winning. So for sure, I think the new user they've got over there is um, definitely trying to keep the wheels going. And I think he's got a lot of things to build off of. If you think about it, it's probably a pretty pretty solid team they've got there. If you get them in the right hands, I mean, they got a lot of young pieces, but some veteran pieces.
for sure, I mean, uh, Jamal Adams, and leading that defense with CJ Mosley on the inside playing linebacker. Like that defense could get pretty scary. I think the only hole that they really have is corner and then maybe like a number one edge rusher. But I think when people talk about the Jets, they don't really think of them as like this elite team. But honestly, if you find the right user in there, they can make some things work.
Yeah, for sure. And they added a lot of star power over this offseason in real life, and I think that's played well for them actually going into the game. Um, I think totally having those building blocks, especially if it's just a Madden league, but having a superstar running back and a superstar, um, having a superstar middle linebacker plays very, very well. So that's a big game I was going on there. Do you got any more to add to that one?
Um, I think the biggest thing that we need to take away is that we're not going to know the winner of that division in a while. So
Yeah, for
we're just gonna have
sure.
to keep track of that
I could totally see that one coming on the last couple weeks. I mean, it's really going to come down to probably who can get hot and stay hot. Um,
for sure.
totally who can string some wins together and just kind of play well for a while. And on the other side with the Giants, I think there's you see. I mean, it's happened with you. Once these star players get suspended, teams really struggle without their stars. Saquon was on the streets, but he wasn't able to get anything consistently going because he didn't have that star player to lean on. So I think people should totally tread with caution when they're doing stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've missed Jameis for the past couple of weeks because some people don't think the drop off between Jameis and Case Keenum isn't that much, but you're gonna you're gonna feel a difference once they're out of the game. And I think what's had an even bigger impact for me personally is Mike Evans. Him not being there, not having that true number one receiver take away a lot of stuff for the defense. But I feel like Ronald Jones has really stepped up throughout the throughout the suspension. So I don't know. I think we're going into a bye, so I'm not really worried about too much.
Sweet. I guess one of the blessings is you can try and get um, you can try and get some actual depth. I guess you can try and find some guys that you can might be able to lean on for a game or two. I've kind of tried to adopt the same thing with some of my guys, trying to find some of them. Like I've got two really good edge rushers, being in Von Miller and Bradley Chubb. But like if one of them goes down, one of them gets close to sacks, like I need to be able to put guys in there that I can count on. And another thing also with me, I think running back's another position like that for me. Philip Lindsay's a small little scat back and is very, very prone to injuries. I think being
Hmm.
able to find guys, second and third string guys that you can count on that might play better than their ratings, I think that's totally something that just um, not just anyone that you may have guys suspended, but guys hurt, or just trying to build some depth in the game. I think is totally something we want to stress here, and try and find them hidden gems, just like you see guys in real life doing that. You know.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. I think for me personally, I've tried to build depth at like my linebacker position because I don't want my edge rushers to get near the sack record. But yeah, I think building depth is a big part because it helps keep your guys. Because guys get tired in the game and they run slower and whatnot. So you want to have backups to go in there and produce for them while they're on the bench getting rest.
Sweet. Yeah. That's something I wanna preach to guys when you're tuning in. I say rotate your damn pass rushers. Rotate other guys too. Well, I mean, we've decreased the quarters a minute or two, but I think totally spreading it out is definitely the way to go. And maybe as some of these guys sort of as their season kind of falls off, they're just sort of looking for um, some guys to step up and make plays for them. Maybe find guys they can build around. So I also trade season is trade season's coming up. Uh, Maybe you can trade one of these guys that has a big name or a lot of clout, as these kids say, and you can sort of move on to another guy. Um, I for sure want to do that. I think we're going to go and break down some of these rumors that we've been seeing pre-trade deadline. So well,
Mm,
that's a little bit of
what do you have for
foreshadowing
me?
going in there. We can move on to that. I got a couple more games I want to um, talk about
All right,
here
yeah, 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 yeah,
going up
yeah. We can
before
talk
we go
about.
into that. So another one I had highlighted was you squeaked out a close win versus Carolina. That was a 1 point win. Um, I that's going to be I think that's a pretty competitive division too. Tampa was definitely looking to be the front runner in my eyes going into the season, but New Orleans has made some noise. Carolina's going to get competitive here now that he's going to be able to free up and play a couple more games, and I think that division is going to be competitive. I like in this league that there's a lot of teams, like pretty much everyone can beat everyone. There's a lot of talent spread around, even team wise or just skill wise. That's totally something we can build off of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I think going back to my game against the Panthers, yeah, man. Now that Panthers is able to play some games, I think he can be a dark horse. Maybe not this year because doesn't have a win yet. But he was out for a while because of a broken collarbone he sustained.
Yeah,
And
so he's getting back in the swing of things, and
but
for
I
sure, I
think uh, I
totally.
think now that he's back next year should be able to. I know it's a long ways away, but you know you consider him as one of the dark horse candidates for a wild card spot.
Yep. Um, I totally think there's a lot of teams. We're still only 6 weeks in, guys. So if we don't necessarily highlight your game, don't be calling me out for not giving you enough love or whatever. And the last one here I have is the Jets won a surprising one over the Eagles, two undefeated teams. Now the Jets remain as another undefeated team. Um, that was a big game. The Eagles had a lot of fumbles in that game, which has been a problem we're aware of. So no need to blow up in chat because you had 8 fumbles. Uh, I can't control it. Like our slider's high enough, Madden's fixing it. Everyone knows it's a problem. Um, I think totally Jets would, like we had said before, keep an eye on them. Um, do you want to highlight a couple games coming up, and then we'll go into some trade talks?
I don't have the games pulled up on me
I've
right
got a
now.
couple. I've got a couple highlighted here we can talk about. As I had said before, Carolina. Or sorry, we'll get week 7. We've got Arizona at the Giants. That should be a shootout game,
Hmm.
absolute
Yeah,
slugfest.
but Saquon won't play that game. That
Saquon
was
is
the
still going
thing.
to be out that game. That's the last game of his suspension.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm
I
thinking
was just checking.
my pick for that one would be Milky. I think Milky can run away with that one.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't think anyone gives the Giants a chance without their number one running back,
Yeah,
best player.
yeah. I think it'll be closer than some will think, but I think if Arizona can get clicking, I think they can totally. I think they've got the firepower to keep ahead of it. The next one is Pats at Jets. At this point, I can't tell you who's the better of these two teams, just simply due to the fact that the Pats is it's been scrappy in all of his games, and the Jets has a new owner, but he's played pretty well. So, I mean, this one's a toss-up. I think the winner of this game might only win by a touchdown or two. Um, I think I mm, I don't know. I'm gonna have to say I think the Jets can string another win out and squeak out undefeated again in this one. How about you, Wealthy?
Hmm. Well, honestly, if I was a bettor, I would stay away from this game. All right. There is so much inconsistency for these two teams. I think let's start with the Patriots. For one, I think they have their good moments. Obviously, they just came out, smacked the Giants in the mouth today. And if they can play like that all year, they definitely have a chance to turn some heads. But they've also lost a couple games. They've lost to the Patriots, or my bad, excuse me, they lost to the Dolphins. And like we never know what we're gonna get with this team each and every week. So honestly, I think if I were to pick, uh, I'd probably pick the Jets because the Patriots they haven't really shown me anything yet when it comes to if they can keep their high level of play. But um, yeah, like if they can be consistent, they'll definitely win. That's a question for me that I just can't ignore.
All right. Another thing in here, I'm gonna highlight it more when we get to player news, but the Texans are gonna play the Andrew Luck less Colts. I think that's definitely a
Ooh.
dark horse of a game. We've shown the Texans owner. She just came off of a big dub against the Falcons, and I think totally she's someone that we're sleeping on a little bit. The Texans are a very very good team. I think that's another really competitive team, and the Colts actually lost to the Falcons early on in the year. So
Mm-hmm.
Texans just beat them. I think there's a little bit of momentum the Texans can build off of, and I think I think it wouldn't surprise me if the Texans can come away with a win in this one. So
Oh yeah.
I think if I was a betting man, I'd put it on the Texans.
Wow. So you're picking the Texans to upset the Colts.
I think next week the Texans can upset the Colts, and I think that's gonna be my game of the week is Texans at Colts, and I'm gonna say the Texans are gonna beat them.
I mean, obviously, Andrew Luck is not the Colts anymore, but I still wouldn't pick the Colts to lose. You know, they still have Jacoby
Mm,
Brissett. I mean, obviously, Jacoby Brissett's no Andrew Luck, but Jacoby Brissett's one of the best backups in the game. Like he's got a great arm. He's young. He's been learning behind Andrew Luck for a couple of seasons. I think now, you know, he can finally. Yeah, he already has a season under his belt, so it's nothing new. He's already seen NFL defenses and whatnot. So I think now Jacoby Brissett, he's got potential to make a lot of noise. I think a lot of people are turning their heads on the Colts because Andrew Luck is gone. But honestly, I'd still take him to win that division. I'm taking the Colts in this one by
mm.
landslide.
Oh wow. Okay, we'll see. We'll see when it comes up. I've got it all tracking down on this Word doc, so we'll check this when we look at this. I think we're gonna do one at the end of week 8 after the trade deadline, so we'll keep that going and we'll definitely get track some of these. Um, as for week 8, I'm going to highlight Carolina at 49ers. I think those are two scrappy teams in the NFC. Actually, two of these games I'm going to highlight. They're both teams that are going to fight for some wild cards. It's Carolina at 49ers and Dolphins at Pittsburgh. Both of those are games that, when we look down the line, those teams are going to be fighting for a playoff spot. I think it's tough to say, but I want to say I'm going to go with Carolina over the 49ers, and I think Pittsburgh can totally beat the Dolphins in that one.
Hmm. Well, I think I think I'm gonna go opposite of what you picked, simply for the fact that the 49ers, I think a lot of people are sleeping on them, but you know, we played against the 49ers week 1, and honestly, I think we had a lot of guys have career games against the 49ers that week. Caused a lot of fumbles, took a lot of them back for 6, you know what I mean? So, I think if it wasn't for them playing, the game of their life somehow, forcing all these fumbles and whatnot, I think the Niners could have kept it competitive. I mean, he was the Niners. They were in the game for the most part, but you know, when guys are just having career performances, there's not much you can do to keep up, and that's what happened. So I think I'm going to take the 49ers. The Panthers, you know, he's decent. The Panthers are good, but I think we still need to give him some time because Cam Newton, he just came off of a 3 interception game. I think he's going to be a little rattled. Um, so I'm going to take the 49ers in that one. And moving on, I think I've been a big believer in the Dolphins. I'm going to stick with him. I think they're gonna. I think the Dolphins are gonna win that division. They're my sleeper pick, wild card for everyone listening. You got this on record.
You think the
I've been
Dolphins
on
can
this
make the
team
wild card in the
since
AFC?
absolutely. I think that division's wide open. I think that conference, honestly, like it's anyone's conference. Especially in a league with so much parity. You can lose any given week. I don't know. I think the wild card in the AFC is looking pretty wide open to me. Not so much for the NFC because there's a lot more talent in the NFC. Talented teams such as the Eagles, Saints. These powerhouse teams, Cardinals. All these guys.
Mm.
They're gonna be at the top of the league. But I think someone in the AFC. I don't know who it is, but if I had to bet my money, it would probably be the Dolphins. But I think someone in the AFC is gonna turn a lot of heads, and we're gonna come wild card time, we're gonna be looking at that one game and we're gonna be like, huh, you know, that guy, that he's not safe, like that's any given Sunday right there. So going back to the game, I think I'm gonna pick the Dolphins to quote unquote upset the Patriots
The Steelers.
or not the Patriots.
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad.
And
Steelers.
then, all right, last game we're gonna talk about here. This is my game of the week for Week 8. Arizona versus the Saints. Two NFC borderline powerhouses here. Don't want to commit to
Mm-hmm.
nothing, but I think totally Arizona and the Saints is going to be one of the better games that week. Um, with that one, I think Arizona's due. I think the Saints also are a very competitive team, but I would say that I think what most people are sleeping on is I think Arizona's going to erupt here soon, and you're not going to like Kyler Murray in Milkman's hands. If Kyler Murray can get going, I think Arizona can be the best team in the NFC. I mean, you can bulletin board that, you can bold that, you can put that in hot takes or bad takes or whatever you want to call it. I just think Arizona. I know Milkman's track record, and I know his ceiling, and I think totally he can be one of the best teams in the league, um, and he's just flat out dominant um, when he can get going. So for that one, I think Arizona can handle they can handle the New Orleans Saints by 3 TDs. I think I
Three
think I
touchdowns.
think Yeah, I think Arizona can totally beat the Saints by 3 TDs in that game. I'm going bold.
All right. Well, I'm not gonna go as bold as you, but I think a lot of people are, dare I say, sleeping on the New Orleans Saints. Have we forgotten that this is one of the best rosters in the NFL? Kamara, Breeze, Thomas, they got triplets on offense. And not to mention the bookends that they have at right tackle and left tackle, Ramczyk and Armstead. They still have freaking Cameron Jordan off the edge. They have Demario Davis at linebacker. There's no hole on that squad. And if we take a look at the Cardinals, unfortunately, I'm sorry, but that offensive line, it has been the worst offensive line in the NFL. or in our league, in my opinion. I think Kyler Murray's running for his life. I think those receivers, they're good, they're fast, but they're a little raw for me. And honestly, I think with the Saints coming off a huge win, huge back-to-back wins. All right, I think this team is on fire. I think not a lot of people are talking about this team. I think they're out to prove people wrong. I think a lot of people's been writing them off. No one's been taking them seriously, and I think they're going to come out next week and
It'd be the
show
week eight
everyone. They're going
still.
to show everyone, yeah, or week 8. They're going to show everyone why, you know, they're going to prove to us why their record says, they're going to prove to a lot of people that the top team in the NFC, taking the Saints.
All right. All right. We'll see. Maybe we can see if our schedules match up. Maybe I can get we can cast that game and get to get some eyeballs on it, commentate over it, give a little bit of an insight, the whole 9 yards. So that's all I got in terms of game preview here. We're just about to hit the half an hour mark. I was gonna go over normally we'd go over some statistical stuff, but with importing the new league over, we just don't quite have accurate enough stats to talk about. I mean, we've had some statistical outliers that have sort of stuck out. I mean, there's a lot of been guys that have been getting kind of sketchy with our rules, so we had to, lay the hammer with that. So actually, one of the things I wanted to do was I wanted to talk about some of the trade rumors that I've been seeing. I totally want to get some storylines going and sort of build up upon these things. So I wanted to talk about some of the ones we see here in the trade block chat. It looks like there might be some, some significant stars on the moves this trade deadline. I know for a fact Texans, there were mentions talking about trading Clowney just as there would be in real life. I think totally moving Clowney, if the Texans are in a spot where they're not necessarily sure they can compete this year, trading Clowney and getting an absolute haul for a premier pass rusher in a league where they're vital. I think totally moving Clowney would be a huge move. As to where they go, I'm not too quite sure. In terms of who's looking for a premier pass rusher, I think you wouldn't want to keep him. You don't want to trade Clowney interdivision. I'm thinking you almost want to send him out of conference, out of sight, out of mind type, because he's just an incredible player both in real life and in Madden. What do you think about Jadeveon Clowney possibly being on the block?
Um, honestly, I think we're in agreement here. You can't go wrong trading for County, obviously, but I think we should take a look at the Texans side of it because um, if they're not going to win games, what's the point? I mean, obviously, Clowney, like he's a lead and all, but like they need to invest. In my opinion, they need to invest their talent to the offensive line to keep Deshaun healthy. But that's another story for another day. Jadeveon Clowney, he's a beast. He's a freak. I think if I was the Texans, I would take nothing, no less. The deal has to include a first round pick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm agreement with you. Obviously, interdivision. I don't think the Texans would ever trade Clowney to the Colts or the Jacksonville Jaguars. Um, Even the Titans, heck. But yeah, man. I think Clowney is a beast. Whatever team that has him is gonna have a serious number one edge rusher. I think a lot of teams that are on the radar, for me, in my opinion, I think we should look out for the Buccaneers. I've heard rumors that Levante David wants out, and the Texans. They're set at inside linebacker, but I think Levante David would really push that push that front seven to some serious status because they've never had an elite linebacker. You know what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they've always had like talent like around it. Obviously, like they've had good DBs, they've had a really good defensive line, but I don't think they've had like a Pro Bowl middle linebacker. So
Okay. A
watch
little
out,
bit of
watch out
owner
for that.
insight
So
there.
watch out for that. But yeah, I think hopefully the Texans can get some decent value for Clowney. I think Uh, something that I always say, you trade him a year too early, then just a year too late. Who knows? Clowney's had an injury history. Maybe he gets injured. I don't know. But
Yeah, I think for sure
Yeah, I
Clowney's
think.
going to be a big one that people have got to watch out for. Um, some other moves I'm seeing thrown around. The Eagles have just listed Jordan Howard on the block. They had traded him to be a rental, but maybe a team thinks he can be a long-term option in there as a that bruising, battering ram type. Eli Apple was thrown on the block for let's see, yeah, Eli Apple. It looks like the Saints are trying to look around for an impact middle linebacker. Um, to try and shore up the middle of that defense. So I'm sure maybe there's going to be some pieces going around. We don't really quite see player for player trades, but it wouldn't surprise me if teams get really aggressive because it looks like there's a lot of teams that can make a run. I just actually text from one of my sources. We've got saying the Cardinals are looking to make a huge splash. Stay tuned. Um, that's
Mm,
all. Nothing, no details, but not quite sure if they've got a big deal in line or what the deal is there. But it wouldn't surprise me if they got almost hyper aggressive and tried to go all in while they've got this window with a quarterback on a rookie contract that necessarily hasn't had to been paid more, but they kind of had that cap flexibility, especially with having a lot of younger stars. Um, Let me see what else. Oh, the Saints are shopping to young, promising wide receivers here. We've got Cam Meredith and Traquan Smith. Both of them are star dev. So teams in need of a wide receiver totally should look that way. Other than that, oh wow, it looks like another move. How about this one? Alshon Jeffrey could be on the move for the right price. It looks like the Eagles are saying as well.
that's a big one because Alshon Jeffrey, he's never been looked at as this. I don't think, for me personally, I've never thought of Alshon as a true number one, wide receiver. The Odells of the world, Julio's of the world. I don't think, but like a number two, I think him and he can be your red zone threat. He's. I think he's like personally. I think he could be very valuable to a team if they know how to use him. If you're gonna try to use him, try to use him as like a burner or like just like if you're gonna try to use him as like that, but you're not gonna have much success. But honestly, I think that's gonna be a name that we should keep an eye on because Alshon Jeffrey, he's a big name.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of teams that need wide receivers, everyone needs a wide receiver. Everyone can use an Alshon Jeffrey type guy that, like, I think I agree with you that I don't think he's a true number one, but I can tell you he's a damn good wide receiver. I mean, you find plays to get him the ball, goal line, red zone, short yardage. He's an older school possession receiver. I don't think necessarily he's not one of them incredible burner deep threats, but I'll tell you what, he can go up and catch it with the best of them. For teams looking to make some noise and get a solid wide receiver they can build around. I mean, maybe even have to overpay a little bit. I think he's totally he can be a number one option type for teams. And then even like I totally think we're gonna see some very good talented wide receiver moves that are gonna come up later. Like a team can get the Cameron Meredith, who necessarily doesn't quite have the upside that a Traquan Smith has, but Traquan Smith in the right hands, I think he can totally be a number one wide receiver because he's got uber talent, height, weight, speed type guy. If you're not too familiar with him,
Yeah, for sure. He was really raw coming. Where he came out of
UCF,
UCF.
yeah,
UCF. Yep.
the
Yep.
wannabe
He
national
was.
champs. Yep.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. No. Tricon Smith. We have to see him twice a year, but the Saints they don't really have a need for him. Obviously they have Michael Thomas. But I don't think I don't really think he's really won that number two wide receiver job. And honestly, I think a change of scenery could be what's best for him. But yeah, what you were saying, he's got top notch speed, athleticism. He's got it all, but he's a little raw. He's a little raw, but I think in the right hands, he can definitely develop into a number one down the line.
Yeah, for sure. I think he totally. Oh wow, here we go. It looks like I'm getting more text here. The Saints have been in talks with the Saints and the Chargers are both in talks with the Texans right now for Jadeveon Clowney, as it looks like things are starting to heat up now that we're getting the press rumors going. You know,
Mm,
maybe we can get some Muffin Mill stories that you're gonna see pop up that are gonna cue in on some things.
um, yeah, man. I think whenever a number one guy like Clowney goes up, there's going to be a lot of teams interested. But something to look out for. The How do you think the other players play the same position and do the same job as Clowney does? How do you think they're going to feel when they hear about their team trying to go out and get another rusher, Tommy?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, some of these teams it doesn't quite make sense. Um, I think um, the Chargers they don't need a Jadeveon Clowney. That's the thing. When you look at that roster, they've got two stud pass rushers, unless they're looking to move on from one. Here
Trust
we
me,
go.
I've always been a firm believer in um, you know, pass rush. You need it to win Super Bowls, but I don't think, Jadeveon, when you already have a number one, Joey Bosa, obviously, and then you have a really good number two in Melvin Ingram, there should be no reason the Chargers are, looking in to try to trade for Clowney. It could be smokescreen, but I'm not sure.
Well,
Realistically, I don't think I would ever see the Chargers trade for Clowney. I think this is all
I'll
smoke,
tell you
Tommy.
what it does do though. I'll tell you, it definitely can drive the price up though. I think
Oh,
you can get into a
maybe.
bidding war. You know how those work
Mm-hmm.
in this game, and
Yeah, for sure.
depending on how Texans plays their bluffs, they totally could finesse a couple people. Maybe they're saying they're getting two
Yeah.
firsts when they've only got a first and a fifth on the board.
Maybe, I don't know. I think right now, with all the buzz that Clowney's generated, I think the Texans they have all the ball is in their park. Like they they can do whatever they want. They can keep him. They can trade him in the future. They don't have to trade him right now. Remember, they don't
Yep.
have to trade him right now. They have another franchise, and maybe a sign trade could be done in the future if we're gonna allow those. But yeah, honestly, I'm not sure, but the Texans are in a really good spot right now.
Up. As it looks like we have, whoa, multiple people have been DMing Texans. Um, Sorry for the lost my train of thought there. That's all I've got for trade rumors wise. If you have any more trade rumors you'd like to talk about, we post them in the trade talk. Oh, sorry. Don't want to quite miss this one, but it looks as if Chargers are looking to part ways with one of their backup running backs, Eckler and Justin Jackson. Both of those guys are pretty serviceable quality running backs. So I mean, Eckler's an 80 and Jackson being a 73 for a team looking at. You could totally turn him into a. You could turn both of them into probably pretty solid running backs. Um, I think those are two smart moves that the Chargers are making. Maybe they can try and steal a pick almost, and try and see what their options are there.
Personally, I'm not a big fan of the Chargers trying to part ways with those two running backs. I think Melvin Gordon's health is always going to be a question mark, as he missed some time dating back a couple of years ago. But yeah, I think Melvin Gordon's health is a concern. Justin Jackson, I don't think he's athletic enough to be a number one guy, but I think he can be number two, damn for damn sure. Same with Eckler. I think he's one of the best third down backs in the league. Um, right now, the Chargers have a good thing going with their three running backs. You don't really know what's going to happen when all of them are on the field. Some of these teams, like the Seahawks, when Chris Carson's on the field, a lot of people know that they're going to run. Chris Carson isn't really that versatile. But with the Chargers, they got Melvin Gordon who can do both. Eckler, I mean, he can run the ball if he has to, but his bread and butter is pass or catching the ball. And then Justin Jackson, you could groom him and make sure he gets his touches. So I think you can go a lot of different ways with the Chargers running backs, and I don't think they should mess anything up. But
Yeah,
I'm not running that team, so I can't really tell. Can't really speak for them.
honestly, something something I say is, wouldn't you just trade Gordon and then let let the let those two go at it? I mean, you've got three starting caliber running backs.
That's that's always something that they can do. I think honestly now there's been rumors of Philip Rivers walking into free agency. I don't know if there's any truth to these rumors, but I think the Chargers are kind of I think they're fed up with the way that this season started. No one really expected them to have such a bad start. But honestly, I think Philip Rivers with him walking, you might be able to trade Melvin Gordon for, dare I say, a quarterback or maybe some picks. I don't know.
Oh
Maybe
well,
put you into
Melvin Gordon just
position
got
and
that. He just got that bag, so I don't know about that.
yeah, forgot about that. Maybe next year, if that quarterback situation isn't fixed up, you could take a look at trading him. Now I think he's going to stay for the Chargers for long.
Yep. I don't think I have any more trade rumors going on here. Chiming in from my comment section here. Uh, Giants are looking for that edge rusher, so look at them. We've got someone chiming in, running backs growing trees. I mean, I can't agree with that statement any more than I think that's pretty accurate, to be honest with you. Um, Trade rumors wise, I think that's it that we've all had in today. I think things are definitely going to heat up.
Oh, for sure. I think
Sherman, yeah,
now
I've
we've
seen some
hit.
Sherman and Dotson. I think those are a while back, but I think as the NFL, I'm sorry, as the NFL adopts more of this um, NBA style of trades, I think you could totally see some big names on the move because teams just don't want to lose those talented players for draft picks or those talented players for nothing. They want to at least get some draft picks out of them.
I think now that teams know where they are, in the season, maybe they try to unload off of that superstar. He's got a big contract. Who knows?
All right. Um, let's see. We've got our trades done. We've got our previews. We've got our games highlighted. Um, I think it's time to bring on some coaches here um, and see what's doing. We were gonna bring Chargers owner on, but he's actually gonna hop into a game. Let me send a message out. We'll get him on and get some interviews going on here to fill the gap. Um, Chargers is actually playing his first game against the Steelers. Um, I think Chargers is a pretty competitive user. I don't know too much about him. As for Steelers, we know Steelers could definitely mix it up a bit. they're they're about 500 level, so seeing Chargers in there and what they're gonna try and do is it's gonna be interesting. Actually, trying to schedule the game as we speak here. We've got some difficulties between both of them, but that'll definitely kick off in a couple of minutes. I'm trying to get my game in with the Titans a little bit later today. Trying to get that schedule in. I'm pretty excited because I don't think I've played too much. Um,
Yeah, I think that's the game. I think Gator Hater, I'm sure he's got 2 wins on the year. So, you obviously having an undefeated year, I think. I don't think a lot of people saw this coming for you and the Broncos. Going into the year with the rookie QB and Joe Flacco. What's it been like exceeding everyone's expectations? Uh, you know,
Oh, nice. You're flipping the script and interviewing me. Um, in terms of the gameplay wise, I try and keep. For me, I feel like the team definitely fits how I like to play myself. Defense and running the ball, and I think that team's built pretty solid. Um, However, you've seen once you can get me out of my element and try and make that rookie quarterback make some big time throws, I think that totally is something that can and throw me off if anyone's looking for a bone out there. I haven't had any blowout wins. I've had a couple wins I've just had to squeak by. So I mean, really, the level of competition in this league is pretty great. I'd probably consider this game against Gator Hater a trap game almost. You know, you
mm,
can throw that term around there. But really, anyone can beat anyone in this league. There's no one guy that's going to go 35 and 0 and then bitch when he loses.
oh, for
Finally,
sure.
I think totally. I'm just going to keep taking it one game at a time. I know I've got some pretty big opponents coming up, but then once you start looking forward is when you can lose to a lesser opponent of sorts. And I think some people are finding that out the hard way that every game matters, and when it comes down, it's not. This isn't baseball where you play 162 games. This isn't the NBA where you've got what is it, 82? Is that how many games they play?
Mm,
You've got
yeah.
tons of games, and this game, every single game matters, and that's why we're also so anal, so to speak, on stats too. You've got some games that matters, but when games get put away, it's time to call off the dogs.
Hmm. For sure. And um, going back to your team, I think there's been a rumor, supposedly, uh, about Royce Freeman, and after his infamous 300-yard rushing performance, I think everyone knows about that. Um, I don't know how to. I'm not sure I'm supposed to tell you this, but there's been reports that Royce Freeman's reportedly disgruntled with the way you've been handling things at the running back position because I think a lot of people after that 300 game, we expected him to go back out the next week, but you gave the reins to Philip Lindsay. How's that going? Is there something that we don't know about that running back? Because I think arguably a lot of people said that Royce Freeman, he's earned that number one running back job, but you continue to keep him behind Philip. Could you shine some light on that?
All right, that's a good question there. Yeah, especially since Lindsey typically he didn't have the greatest game last time, but I think overall I think Philip definitely gives me the best shot of winning. In a sense that he's more of a complete. He's a game changer when he touches the ball. We'll be honest with you there. There's no player on my team. I mean, he's a home run threat. He's a little guy, but he's got moves on top of moves. He can catch. He can run between the tackles more than a lot of people could think. But he's also got the ability to take one, make a guy miss, and then there's 6 points up on the board. Whereas Royce Freeman is more or less coming into the year he was slotted to be the power back, that short yardage, grinding between the
Mm-hmm.
tackles type, and he had some success coming in there, but he had actually gotten suspended for a while, and he kind of just fell off. Um, Sorry, I sneezed there, but he had kind of just fallen off for a while, and it was tough. I was just riding with the hot hand, and I think, yeah, I've typically been going running back out of a community here, and another guy that not many people have been talking about is I picked up Corey Grant off the street, and he ran for a buck 50 in that game too. And I mean, he's been a huge contributor. I've really been trying to balance those carries out because I think um, one going with the hot hand not only gives me the best running back I have possible, but I think also it also gives me a chance to keep those guys fresh and keep a lot of them rotating because I think that's totally an underrated aspect in this league is if you can keep, especially running backs nonetheless, if you keep them fresh and you keep those stats up, they can pretty much you can definitely catch a defense off guard with if you wear them on down, you put fresh legs in there, and then you've got a guy that's at his peak performance, and he can totally catch defenses off guard because uh, another thing that we've also been looking at was the fatigue, getting that all fixed up because I totally want to see running backs and rotating them because you don't see running backs get 40 carries and their next guy get one. Um, for me personally, I think right now I'm going with Phil until Phil proves me wrong. Uh, he's our guy, so um, I'm just gonna roll with whoever I think gives me the best chance to win. It doesn't matter if you're a 99 overall or a 69 overall. It comes down to how you play on the field.
Hmm. For sure, Coach. I want to talk about your quarterback situation real quick. Drew Lock, he's had his, we both know he's had his good games, but you know, um, he has had his bad ones too. So how do you plan on handling this quarterback situation going forward, given the fact that the hardest part of your schedule hasn't come up yet, and I
Yeah.
think that when the
hmm
squad is very young, so this is to a veteran team, veteran savvy kind of guy, kind of confuse you and throw some things at your guys that you guys might haven't seen before, and you could lose a game or two. But yeah, going back to Drew Lock, I want to know how are you that situation going forward.
Yeah, and so ultimately it came down to one. I think, we know what we have with Joe Flacco. He's been around the league a while. He's at this point in his career, I think he's a backup caliber. And if he's a backup, I think he's in the top tier of those backups. I don't quite know if he's still got that starting role left in him. He had a rookie beat him out last year in Baltimore, and I think what we had seen from Drew Lock really impressed us. Something that I think not a lot of people are talking about is Drew Lock's ability to control the offense, be that game manager, quote unquote. And ultimately, I think Drew Lock is going to surprise some people. He's got his really great games. He's got games where he doesn't quite have it, but that comes with being a rookie and being sort of bottom of the totem pole, so to speak. But something I think people definitely need to watch out for is his legs and his mobility. Drew Lock is a lot better athlete than you think. Um, I think he doesn't quite have the arm strength that Joe gives us, nor does he have quite the accuracy yet. But I think so far we've seen a lot of really good things to build off of, and I think he opens our playbook up a little bit more. And if need be, he's not playing too well, we've got that surefire backup. We've got the bullpen pitcher ready to warm up and try and bail us out. So as for right now, we're gonna roll with the hot hand and Drew, and he's been really successful and trying to get some of these other rookies involved and getting that chemistry going. So as long as they keep that up, we're gonna roll with them.
All right. Well, I have one last question for you, Coach, if you don't mind. Um, Emmanuel Sanders, great guy, great player. Uh, he's 31. To call it how it is. He doesn't fit with the timeline that you guys have on your team. Young QB, really young wide receivers, and a really young tight end who's taken over the league by storm. No offense. I have everything to say about him. He's really good. But Emmanuel Sanders, moving forward, have you discussed a contract extension with him?
At this point, I don't want to quite reveal that. I want to sit down and evaluate our options here. I think if you hear anything about an extension, we're gonna let it play on out. He hasn't quite had. I think he's definitely come to me. He hasn't quite been too happy with the amount of snap counts and catches he's gotten, but quite honestly, we've seen guys like a guy that no one's been talking about is Cortland Sutton. Almost he had a buck 50 receiving yards, and he's been
Mm,
big plays all day. And the emerging threat, Emmanuel Sanders isn't quite. He was never quite that number one option, but for here, I think at this point in his career, he's a serviceable slot wide receiver and a very good one at that. But I don't quite know. But one thing but beyond that, one thing I want to talk about is I think he's also been really, really helpful in developing those young wide receivers like Cortland Sutton and like
mm,
Deshaun Hamilton and a young rookie guy we've got, or sorry, second year player out of Penn State. I think Emmanuel's been around and been, showing them how to be a professional wide receiver and what it takes to have a really long career in the NFL. So I think him rubbing off on Deshaun Hamilton is great. And I think his playing time will continue to be there too. He's still going to be that guy that can work over the middle, still going to be that guy that's got surefire hands. I think we'd like to keep him around. Obviously, he's been a professional for a great amount of time. He's been with a lot of very successful offenses. Um, we don't quite have a deal in place yet, but like I said, I think we're gonna play this one by ear, wait it out a little bit, and evaluate our options a little bit later on.
Hmm. Well, sorry to interrupt this interview, Coach, but breaking news: there's been a leak saying that the New Orleans Saints have agreed to a trade offer with the Houston Texans for Jadeveon Clowney.
All right, yeah,
Your thoughts?
we'd like to see some of them details coming up. I think in terms of both teams, the Saints have got to send first rounder that way. I think it'd be a waste if they had a rental going over that way. They've got to pay Jadeveon Clowney big time money. He definitely fits with that team, but where's the money coming from? The Saints are going to be strapped in cap hell. Um, they just paid Michael Thomas a lot of money. Um, I'd like to see some details. I think that makes the Saints a very, very good team. Um, I'd love to see it. Their thoughts?
Supposedly, there was a offensive lineman in the trade. Not sure which one. Could be Ramczyk, could be Armstead, but
That doesn't quite make sense, though.
certainly could not be Andres Pete. Eric McCoy. Those guys, they're rookies, they're young, they want to develop. The only two that would make sense to me are those guys. And last time I checked, you know, tackles are really important in today's league. When you have two elite tackles, teams tend to,
I think both of those tackles are
keep
top
them
100 at their position as well. I
for sure.
um oh wow, it's a weird one.
What are the
Um,
details?
we've got the Saints offer a first and a third, and Larry Warford for Jadeveon Clowney and a fourth.
Hmm. Um.
Reasoning behind this move for both your teams and yeah, I wanna hold up 1 second before we get too off topic. I want to make sure people use this format when you submit your trade proposals. Um, I'm fine with people submitting trades. I don't want them to go through yet, but they certainly can get approved. Make sure you're abiding by our rules. Um, oh man, that put me on the spot. Basically, it's player, position, overall, age, contract. Um, let's see. Oh, hold up, we got a mention going up.
All right. Well,
That's what I've got there.
while you're doing that, we fortunately could get another head coach in to
Yeah,
interview.
yeah.
Um,
Before I drop too much of a
I
blank.
want you guys to want to introduce you guys to the Cardinals head coach, Milkman. How's it
All
going,
right,
Coach?
yeah, yeah. Bring it in here. We got Cardinals coach Milky. What's up, Milk?
How's it going, guys?
Pretty good. We're gonna probably end up working on that trade later tonight. Coming to a verdict here.
Mm.
Um,
It seems like a NFC rival picked up, potentially a marquee guy in Jadeveon. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm not really worried about it.
Mm. Coming off of a big game against the Falcons, I saw that Patrick Peterson had a really awesome pick six. Congratulations to him. Did he get the game ball for that game?
Oh hell yeah, man! Excuse my language, but That's just Pat being Pat, man. You get the ball in his hand and something special's gonna happen. He's
For
been
sure,
doing
we
it
can
since
say that
college.
for him, for sure. Since LSU, the LSU days, he's taking back punts.
He's been doing
I
it
don't
his
think
whole life.
he's a real playmaker with the ball. I wanted to talk about your offense specifically. What went right? What didn't go right? How has it been trying to integrate Kyler Murray in this system into the NFL against NFL defenses?
Well, Kyler, he's been typical rookie quarterback season, as you could probably expect. Up and downs. The highs are really high, the lows are really low. But at the same time, we're seeing consistent improvement week in and week out. And Kyler's known him and Cliff. Kyler knows the offense better than anybody else on this team, just based off the Cliff Kingsbury's air raid system, and it's definitely something you're not used to seeing in the NFL. But I think you're gonna see it more and more after a couple seasons.
All right. So going forward, how have you been balancing um, that rookie quarterback there? You know, I've also struggled with it too. Um, what are you thinking? What are you thinking in terms of his development? What have you been pleased with so far?
He's been, I've been pleased with all assets of it. It's just week in and week out, he's getting better and better. And yeah, you still got those. What are you doing? But each week goes by, you don't use those are less and less. It's just all consistency, trying to keep him hitting throws on a consistent pattern. I think the main thing we still got to work on is getting the ball, pushing the ball downfield with like accuracy, which is like the only thing he's really been struggling on. But after this week, it's just the sky's the limit, man. The sky's really the limit.
I want to go back to your game against the Ravens, if you don't mind. Game of the year so far. Um, you guys went to overtime.
And then the
That
Ravens
was
owner
Kyle.
had passed away in a plane crash after.
Oh yeah, so sorry about him. But yeah, this game. This is probably Kyler Murray's biggest game so far. Um, Walk us through what happened on those sidelines on the game-winning field goal. What was it like? Was Kyler Murray did he keep his composure? Were the players rallying around? What was it? What was it like in his first big, primetime game?
Well, as you know, we came up a little bit short, but I was just the way Kyler played that game after he was getting beat around by just one of the best pass rushers in the league, one of the best pass rushes that he's gonna face, is to keep coming back there, having composure, making throws, keeping us in the game, giving us a chance to win. It says a lot. It says a lot about his future, and it says a lot about the future of this team.
Awesome. It shows you clearly believe in him. And I was hyping you up earlier. You know, I think the Cardinals are totally a team to contend with. And I made that bold statement. I think he can be the best team in the NFC. So I mean, obviously it all rides on the shoulders of number one there, and seeing what he can do.
We're letting
Yeah,
him down.
I'm in agreement with Fallen. The sky's the limit for your team, but I think one thing that could hold you guys back is that offensive line. Um, Obviously, it has not been the best. Kyler Murray is running for his life. I talked about this earlier in the segment. That clearly has got to be the number one issue, and an aspect of your team that you guys got to address moving forward. How hard is it to maintain a decent offensive line? Because in a league with pass rushers left and right, you know, Chargers with Joey Bosa,
Yeah,
Texans with Clowney. I'm not sure. I just wanted to know how have you guys, been able to fare against these marquee number one guys? Because honestly, it doesn't look like you guys have been doing too well.
yeah, it's we're doing what we can to set up our guys for success. in that with the air raid offense, you have these quick little dunk off passes that work this basically the same as run plays. It's just we're trying to get the ball out quick. We're trying to like get it moving, not putting the offensive line in a position to fail, basically. That's why we're trying to avoid third and longs, any long down and distances to go. We got it. We're trying to eliminate the best of our abilities, and that it honestly starts with Kyler.
Yeah, and I think ultimately too, it also is nice when you can turn and hand the ball off to David Johnson, an all-pro running back for you. I mean,
Oh yeah,
that's got to be a great luxury.
the guy can do it all.
Yeah,
Give
he's
him a little
totally one of
hole
the best
and
playmakers in the league. When's Larry Fitz gonna get some action?
I'm sure you're all wondering why he's not seeing much of the field, but after the preseason, me, Coach Cliff, Fitz, we all sat down and we had a man-to-man conversation, and Fitz knows it, we know it, you guys know it. He just he don't have it any. He doesn't have it anymore. And when you're a competitor, you never want to swallow your pride. You always want to go out there and do what you can do. But he's just been serving as a mentor to develop these three young receivers, and it's
I just wanted to go back to what you said about Larry earlier. You said in quotes he doesn't have it anymore.
to be blunt, yes.
All right.
As much as we love him, it's he knows it, we know it, you guys know it.
Obviously, but I don't think you should come out and say that about your franchise centerpieces for decades. This is Larry Fitzgerald we are talking about. Let's just talk about what he's done for the community and what he
Oh
does
man,
for
he's
Scottsdale.
he's been great, nothing but great. It's just the time is now for Christian Kirk, Annie Isabella, and Hakeem Butler. And
Which is true, but I think when you're contending, um, you want to keep that guy on the field. So you know what I mean. He knows what to do in critical downs. Don't you think? You're gonna need him down the line. Am I not wrong?
this is where I'm going to say you're wrong, because with our offense, we need receivers that can create space, get open quickly, and
Mm.
he can't do it anymore. It's
Okay, so
unfortunate.
athletically, he doesn't have it. He doesn't
Yes.
have it. He's gone through a lot. He's old, for sure, man. Yeah,
Love
I
him to
totally
death.
understand
Love
that.
him to death, but
Yeah, great guy. Great guy.
he's a great guy. Class act.
I want to shift your game a couple weeks ahead. Week 8, pretty sure against the New Orleans Saints. We all know about the Saints. They've, I don't think anyone's really taken them too seriously yet, but they're on the rise. They're a team. Uh, what, you have any concerns going in? Any concerns? Anything you want to talk about?
The only thing I'm really concerned about is trying to slow down Alvin Kamara a little bit. But besides that, if our offense goes in and does what we are supposed to do and does what we normally do, we'll be fine.
Yeah, for sure. Will that be game? Will that game be playing at home or away?
Um, it is an away game. We're going to the Superdome.
Mm, it's gonna be it's a pretty hard place to win in. You sure Kyler
Yeah, it
has it
is.
what has what it
That's a
takes?
one probably the biggest test of the season for our rookie QB.
For sure. We'll just have to wait until then just to see if he's gonna produce or he'll fall flat on his face.
So far, so good, man.
All right. I seem to be good here. How about? Do you guys have any more things you'd like to add to this?
I've asked what I needed to ask. Coach, you've been amazing. I just wanted to wish you best of luck on the season. Yeah, I hope you
Thank you,
guys,
guys. You too.
best of luck.
Hope to see you in the playoffs.
All right. Yes. Good luck, Coach.
Take it easy, guys.
Stay healthy and keep on moving.
Yep, you too.
All
Take it
right,
easy.
have a good one, Coach. All right, and our next coach here is going to be the Saints head coach. I know we were talking about the Saints a little bit earlier. They just had this blockbuster trade that's going to be proposed here, and we'll see what's doing. We'll get his insight on it, and maybe talk a little bit about what went down. Hey there, Coach. How's it going? Uh, Mr. Swayze.
I think we're having difficulties with our microphone right now. I see it's all the way down in New Orleans. There's a bad, it's pretty congested down there, especially at 9 p.m. Everyone's going out, so we can just give him a moment. Um, this trade, it's pretty remarkable, to be honest. We've seen superstars get traded before, but I don't think someone in the prime of his career to a team this good. It's been a while since we've had that happen, haven't we?
Oh shit. He doesn't quite have permission. Let me change that for him. Hey Swayze, how's it going? You should have permission now. Hello?
It seems as though if
Let's
Swayze
see
is
if we
having
can hop in pillow talk.
Hello?
Mr. Swayze, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. We're looking at this trade here. Would you like to give us a little bit of insight on sort of why you made the reasoning?
Well, Clowney's been on our watch list for a while now. She mentioned Clowney being on the trade block for a couple weeks now. But as you know, with the trade limit coming up, that's when everyone, gets the motivation to actually push for it. So when it comes down to my roster, like you guys mentioned earlier, I got two top 100 tackles on the outside, and my starting guard Larry, he's not bad. He's not good. I feel like we're overpaying a little bit too much with the 8.6 mil cap hit we have towards them this season. So he's one of those players where I feel like, I can afford to send him away. And especially when it comes to getting, top 100 pass rusher in the NFL.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a move that makes a lot of sense for both sides. Um,
um maybe Tommy may think that it's a move that makes sense for both sides. Personally, for me, it makes sense for the field, but financially, I question it because you do have that entire defense that's on rookie, contracts who are going to want money in the future. Marcus Williams, Lattimore, Rankins, to name a few. How do you plan on managing that
Well,
financial situation? Oh,
well,
Kamara, excuse me,
yeah,
sorry. Kamara's also
yeah.
coming off the block.
Yeah, fully aware of our young guys and how big of an impact they have on our team. But like I said, mentioned earlier, we feel like we can win the Super Bowl this year. We're making the extra push. Obviously, any team deals with having let certain players go when the time comes. You can't keep everyone under contract forever. So, you know, maybe a guy or two we don't want to let go. We have to. Um, but we feel like this is the best. Gives us our best chance to win the Super Bowl this year.
Mm. So how are uh, the players on, specifically on that defensive line, how are they reacting to this? Because obviously, if a team goes out and gives out, a first round pick and a third and one of their, starting offensive linemen, it seems as though if, they really, it was something that they were that desperate out to go and get. How do you keep the morale high on these? What do you have to say for these guys who have been busting their balls out on training camp, into the regular season, and then they come, Marcus Davenport, he's been having a pretty good year. How hard is it going to be to tell him that he's going to be taking a back seat to Davion Clowney?
Well, first thing, we're still in the early stages of it, so no one's heard all the sides, everyone. And obviously we have more outspoken players like Cameron Jordan. He's not afraid to speak his mind. But they're grown men. They got to realize you compete for your jobs. There's going to be someone better that does their job better than you. And anyone on the outside looking in can see that our linebacker core is probably our weakest spot as far as our defense goes.
So are you going to
How
have him play outside on a 4-3?
Yeah, Clowney will most likely be playing outside because, like you said, Davenport's doing a good job on the line. Obviously, Cameron Jordan has his position locked up, but Clowney's one of those players, within the game, if we want to play him in a 3-point stance, and all that, where you can, we have multiple choices.
well, I mean, this is a lot of resources you've put in, now the Saints have put in that defensive line if this thing gets approved. Sheldon Rankins is a big time pick. Cam Jordan is a big time player, but then you've also got Marcus Davenport, who they traded 2 first-round picks for, and now you trade another first-round pick and a third-round pick for another big time pass rusher. That's a lot of resources put in that D line. How do you think you're going to handle, dumping a lot of resources? Do you think you could become overly stocked at one position and open up holes in another spot?
Yes, I agree to that point. Certain teams have a really good depth at positions and not enough help at others. But like I said, some teams go into the draft. Some teams like to build through free agency. Some like to build through the draft. Um, Me personally, I feel like as far as the draft goes, it's very hit or miss. So I'm not afraid to gamble on draft picks when I know I'm getting the for sure player.
Okay, so you think your approach is to more get the more proven players as opposed to the college guys
I
that
agree, and
could
yeah,
flop.
I also
Okay.
feel like we have one of the best rosters in the league. I believe Wealthy mentioned that earlier. So I feel like this is something I can afford to. I think we're going to be a very good team on both sides of the ball for quite some time.
But not. But what Wealthy said though, you have a ton of players coming up on expiring deals. So
Yeah, I think your coach. I think you're downplaying the situation by saying just 1 or 2 players you're going to be letting go. These
Well,
players are franchise players, coach. Marcus Williams, are you
hmm
saying that he doesn't have that big of an impact on your team, or what? Because I don't think Marcus Williams would be too kind to hear that, to say that, a young aspiring player in the NFL isn't worth too much to you because he's just going to get let go in the future. Now, like, if
well, yeah.
Clowney gets back on the squad.
Well, like I said, they're grown men. They know it's a business. It's you compete for your job. But as far as our financial situation goes, I think in the end it's gonna work out. Um, I don't want to start any rumors or anything, but if certain guys we have to let go, Breeze, then we're gonna have to do it.
So you'd be willing to let Drew Brees go, just to
If it comes down to where it's completely necessary and we have to, I'm not afraid to do what's best for the team.
Okay, so
so
if we had a pool between Alvin Kamara, Marcus Williams, Marshawn Lattimore, and Sheldon Rankins, and you could only pick two, which two are
Okay.
you going with? And this is something you might have to make, a decision in IRL because of your cap situation. You might only be able to pick two.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to know which two would you be inclined to pick, if you don't mind
Um,
me asking.
we're still in the early stages. I don't want to commit to anything, but me personally, with having Clowney and Cameron Jordan, maybe having that strong run stopper in Sheldon Rankins, wouldn't be as necessary as if we didn't have Clowney.
Totally understandable, Coach. I can see where you're coming from. Interior run stuffers growing tees these days, as one of my said.
And then with the thing with running backs is it's hard. You always have these young running backs that come in and want to compete. So when you get a player like Kamara, especially this early in his career, it's it's very beneficial. But when that time comes, we'll see what we have to do.
So are you implying that Kamara could be on the, dare I say, chopping block? Because he's a running back, and
I'll
running
imply
backs don't
that
really grow on
anyone could be on
trees.
the chopping block when it comes to our roster. But
All right. I
yeah,
was
no
just, I
one,
was
no,
just, I was just
no,
clarifying, Coach. I don't want
yeah,
to start any problems when you're.
no, no one's safe.
All right. I've asked what I wanted to ask. Fallen, any last words you want to get in?
I think I'm good. I'll totally get back to you. Well, the league office will totally get back to you by tomorrow, as we get a little bit closer with our decision, and then we'll let you know the verdict and the reasons why. So
Sounds good.
that's all I've got. Do you have anything else you want to say, Coach, while you're on the air?
Yeah, just got a message towards Milky. If he thinks his team has anything on.
Oh. You good, Swayze? Looks like we might have an issue here. Looks like we had another coach join. Falcons, you here?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, I just have a message for Milky. I'm looking forward to our game in week 8 and seeing who comes out on top.
Awesome. Good luck, Coach. Moving forward, stay healthy. Uh, Try and keep on keeping on, and good luck the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Have a good one, Coach. All right. Falcons joined here. You here, Coach? Hello? You may have joined on accident. Let's see if he's gonna say something here. I don't think he's got anything, so if he doesn't have anything, I think it's good on time to wrap it on up. So, you got anything else here, Wealthy?
I think we've touched about we've gotten where we wanted to get podcast. I'm kind of pleased with how it went out. Got a lot of coaches on. Only 2, but they had a lot to say. Obviously, watch for storylines. These coaches, they said a lot of stuff that could just so happen to affect their team moving forward.
All
That's
right.
all I have to say, Coach.
Yep. Stay tuned, and we'll totally get this thing going. We'll come at you with the post-trade deadline episode, and we'll let you all have at it. So have a good one, guys. Keep healthy and keep going.